Yeah, yesterday we went to the prison and we did some clearings there. They hire us to go there every so often, so we were there yesterday and feeling the energy is it's really interesting to be in like a prison a security system and everybody's in lockdown. There's a lot of paranoia, a lot of different dynamics from the guards and the people who are locked up and the officials and everything. So clearing, and while I'm clearing, there's a door there and there's this little window and I'm focusing on the person and I keep seeing a face coming into the window trying to look at me, and I'm like, I know there's nobody there, but it feels like there's somebody standing there and looking at me, and I look up and I'm like, no, it's not there, and go back. And this played out for quite a while, and then I just sort of ignored it because every now and then there'd be a group of prisoners walking by with a guard. I don't know the energy either. I was telling Cindy I was either ahead of things where somebody was going to come and like look in and I would see them, because it was just strange how I kept picking up on that energy and I was really focusing on trying to open up and release things. And they have an elder there and he's going to move on. They're hoping somehow to keep him, but I think after he leaves that, I think lots of things will go sideways because they don't have somebody there, because they're trying to build it to house natives and teach them things and help them to heal through the process and storytelling and other kinds of things to connect them to something to believe in, to maybe help them change, heal, or something. Mm-hmm. And he does really lots, and he's really burned out. They're always asking him to do things and he doesn't know how to say no. Every time they ask him, he says yeah, and he just does everything. And so I cleared him yesterday, and there was just lots and lots of stuff to get cleared out. So I just made myself a promise. I'm going to pray for him over the next few days and ask the universe to really release a lot of things, because he tries to hold on to it and it doesn't belong to him. And a while ago, there was 2 prisoners released into back out of the prison, and they went right back into their old gangster lifestyle of drugs and that. And 2 of them were hanging out together. In prison, they were friends and they were hanging out together. And I guess they got drunked up or something went on, and one killed the other. And now the guy's back in prison, and he had worked with these 2 people before, and he really thought he helped them. They had really changed and they were going to walk away from this lifestyle. And they went back, and now one of them is dead, and he doesn't know how to deal with this person now, because this person wants to come to him and talk, and it's all stuck inside him. And he's like, how do I help this person? Like, how do I move past this and still try to find a way to have compassion or whatever for this individual? So I'm going to pray for maybe some way to sit with him and have him bring it out and release it. And how we hold on to things, how we feel around certain subjects, or how we feel towards family, and how we'll hold on or overlook things with certain people in our lives. But yet we look out at the other world and we'll attack everything out there in the world. It's like, oh yeah, you're this and that. But family dynamics, friends and that, we'll put on rose-colored glasses and we won't see it. And being in that world is a different world, because even for Cindy, she hadn't experienced something she had felt, and she had never felt it before. And she told me about it, but while we were there too, she recalled the dream. You can tell about the dream.
We were in between sessions. Oh yeah, it was just about our lunch break, and I was telling Joe when we were alone in the room, and I said, yeah, I had this dream, and it's like I can't remember the dream. I just remember seeing this really big bear's face, and the bear was really close, and then there was also this really big eagle, and it was like I was looking out a window at this eagle, and it was flying, but then it wasn't flying, but it was like I was super analyzing it. It's like it's this I'm not sure if it was like, yeah, it was changing colors. So there's this giant eagle, and I had forgotten about all of this, and I don't even remember the dream itself. It's like I have this memory of seeing it, and I know it's a dream because it got triggered by the first client. And then I said, and there was this really big feather. And I was like, Joey, like we were being given this big feather, and it was like a we or Joe. And I'm telling him this right as, and then right then the guard friend of ours, Candy, she walked in through the door and she says, I have something for you. My inmates made this and I want to give this to you guys. And it was like I had just finished telling Joe what I had dreamed. And then she gives us this really big feather. It's like gigantic. And it was so funny because I was like, I just finished saying that to Joe. Someone gave us a really big feather. So,
Like, this is huge, made out of metal. 2 of them.
yeah. So it's like also our dreams too. They, I don't know, like there is like a cross between different realities or dimensions of some kind that's going on there. And how we can bring it into our reality, or we can, we can alter it, we can change it to fit in our reality or something like that. I don't know. That's also in my readings too. So to have that experience that kind of sort of matched the teaching in the book by Neville Goddard, it was interesting.
Yeah, because she's questioning what we see in our dreams and what is real and not real. And it's the way he's trying to explain it, because I know for me, most of my life, I've seen many, many things in my dreams and they've always manifested the way I saw it. And there were times where I would dream something and I would dream about a day and I would wake up and the whole day I would see everything. I'd know everything. Even hours before it would happen, I would know the whole day in detail. I'd walk into a room and I'd see everybody and the colors of their clothes, everything would be exact. So Cindy is trying to understand this the way they're explaining. There's way more depth to it than sometimes you can understand. And we do glimpse, we're given opportunities to glimpse and see things in the future. So,
and I have to say, like, don't be hard on yourself and don't judge yourself for it. Like, I know I had a thought that went through my head because I can feel it. And it was just like, when is my brother Chad going to get married? It was this question that went through my head. And I don't know, I just kind of like threw it off to the side because we saw him in August and him and his fiance, they're talking about what they don't know what they're going to do. Anyways, 2 days later, I got this freaking text of him and his now wife. Like they eloped and they got married. And it was just like, oh, look, he got married. So these little things that come into our consciousness that we think of and we just kind of like shove it off to the side. It doesn't mean anything. How do you know? Maybe you are glimpsing your future, just even in words or feelings and sensations. And allow yourself to say this, like I am saying it to you. I know I had that thought. I didn't say it to him. I knew it. Like, I don't need to do that, but it's really exciting inside that, hey, I know I had that thought. And it seems to be happening more often, especially the feather. Someone gave us a big feather and then it walks in through the door. Ask to have some experiences like that for yourselves, to glimpse waking dreams, and which is those thoughts that kind of pop in, and or dream about your future at night, have more deja vus, have understanding of those visions that you receive. Because I was talking to Joe the other day, and it was almost kind of like we were fighting, but we weren't. So it was more like a little aggressive, you could say, in the banter back and forth. And Joe's just like, I didn't have a teacher that taught me all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a second. Yeah, you did. You had your grandfather. And it's like, because from my perspective, Joe had his grandfather that helped to shape his mind to be able to ask these questions naturally. Like it's like breathing to him to go in and out of these thoughts and filter it and understand it. Whereas in most of us haven't had that kind of guidance from that youth, that childhood.
One of the things with that is, to me, it was like a curse, because I could see everything. I can go somewhere and I'm sitting with somebody and I'd see what their day is like or what would go on, or I'm hearing their thoughts and they don't know it. And you can't share because everybody is afraid of you. Everybody wants to kill you, or they got some weird idea that you're, some sort of strange being, and you're always on edge. You're always ready to run or survive. You never know what people are gonna actually like just activate and want to kill you, because it happens so often. And so it was very, very hard, but the spirits would come, and my granddad would say they're coming, and I'm like, oh shit. And there was times where I just wanted to run away, and he said, you go in that room now. And I'm like, man, I don't want to go in there. And eventually I'd go in, and I'd sit there, and lots would go on, and then I'd come out and I'd talk to him, and then I'd be allowed to play. And it was like I had to shut it off and close this door and close a big reality off, so I could play and be in this other reality and not say or do something that would cause people to react or attack me. So there were times it was like a real curse, because I would know things, and there was times where I would say things and it would just go sideways and everybody would turn on me. And there's times where I wanted to try to bring change or prevent somebody from getting hurt or something bad going on. So I'd open up and say things, and then it would just flip around and go the other way. Like, I've been thrown out of many houses, had doors slammed on me, windows where, I thought it was this person's friend, and I went and knocked on the door, and they're telling me never come around again, and they're calling me all kinds of names and that. And I'm walking down the street going, well, what did I do wrong? So there was times it was very, very hard, but spirit came in, and they had my granddad train me. It wasn't him wanting to do it. He didn't want to do it. And he told me, he says, I don't want to make you my puppet. I don't want to make you this. He says, but you have to learn. It's important for the future. So I would go through these things, and there was nobody I could sit with and talk about or share, not even my own cousins. My one cousin grew up with my granddad. He was terrified of me. He didn't want me talking about things I saw or knew. It freaked him right out. And we'd be at places sometimes, and we're having a party, and he would point and he'd say, you see that guy right there? He's a devil. Ask him anything and he'll tell you. And whatever he tells you is going to come true. And he'd be like really freaked. And I'm like, we live in the same damn house. He's like there all the time with my granddad, but yet he just freaked right out about me. And he's still that way today. He's still scared, even though he's like 60 years old. He still has all these fears and all kinds of crazy things. And then my granddad died at 17, and my whole world exploded. I had nowhere to go, no one to talk to. Nobody understood me. Like I say, everybody was afraid of me. So in a way, yes, maybe it was a really good thing, but I chose at birth to have this experience, and I agreed with the universe to send spirits in to train me as a child. And this was part of my agreement with the universe. So these spirits came in, and they had to train me from, say, about 4 years old until I was about 14, 15. And then from there, whatever I was trained, I was just in it, and I was curious. So I would search and find things. And like I say, when he died, there was nobody there anymore. I was in this town of 900 people where people hated me and were afraid. And I didn't know who I could trust. So in my reality, it was really, really different. And one thing I would always tell people is just leave me alone. If you didn't piss me off, I wouldn't get angry, and I wouldn't try to scare you or do things. Because once a person pissed me off, I'm like, I just open up everything and I tell them stuff for up to a year. And all this stuff would go on, and everybody's like, oh, you're a fucking asshole. Oh, you're this and that. And I'm like, well, don't piss me off. If you don't piss me off, I won't fucking do this. When you make me mad, I'm going to do everything to scare the goddamn hell right out of you.
Use your
And
gifts
so-
well, hey?
So there was times where, and especially when I got drunk, if I got drunk and my filters were gone, I had no filters. I would say anything. I wouldn't care. And if people didn't want to be around me, it's like, oh, that asshole over there. And they close their doors, and it's like, don't let him in. He's a fucking asshole. Lots of my cousins, they say, yeah, boy, you could be an asshole. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, don't pick on me and bother me. You piss me off, and I'll fucking come after. So in a way, there was a lot. Like, in one way, it was really good in residential school, because when I ran away and I was on the streets and I was so terrified, And I didn't know where to go, and I knew I wasn't going back there, and I knew the only choice is live or die. That's all that was inside me. And I'm walking around 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's so cold, and I know if I lay down or go somewhere, I probably freeze to death. And so first place I go to is one relative, and I knock on the door about 2 in the morning, and she finally comes to the door and says, "Who's there?" And I tell her, and she says, "You get away from here, you evil little bastard." And I'm like, I'm 9 years old. I thought maybe I said, "Oh, you're cold, sir. Come on in, It's not good to be alone at night out in a cold like this." And I'm standing there shocked. And she's telling me, "Get away or we'll call the cops, or you ever come back here again, kill you," and all kinds of stuff. And my head is just spinning, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, I'm in a really, really bad place. What do I do? And then the voices started, and the voice would tell me, do this, do that. So I just follow what the voice told me. And it always helped. It got me to safety. Whatever I needed, the universe would find a way to make that happen. I just had to listen. So it was really, really inside me really strongly. And for about the first month or two is like, I didn't know how to survive on the streets. And after a while, you start picking up things, and, people start realizing, and you wander around in the night, you meet people who are usually criminals and other things. And they say, "Oh yeah, I'll protect you," and this and that. But then they manipulate you, and, so you have to do this give and take and whatever to survive. It becomes survival. But the spirits were always there trying to guide me. And so, yes, I had a teacher, but sometimes it wasn't so nice. But now here I'm at this age, and I'm here to teach. That's why I had to go through these difficulties, and I had to learn. Like I say, spirits came in, whether I liked it or not. And it was on the other side. Whatever I had agreed before I was born was already there. And it had nothing to do with the world or my granddad or anything. Everything was created that way. We manifested. When we decide to finally come into this world, we set off. It's like you activate a computer that's programmed for 100 years. And every day you flip it open, and whatever's on the screen, you do that for that day, and then you shut it down. The more you open up, you turn it on, you flip it up, and you program that. And I was trying to tell a person, I says, what if you programmed everything, and the computer is here, and you're here, and every year you grow, you grow, you grow. One day you get to that computer, and you look, and you went, whoa, I created all that. I decided all of that. All these people, all these situations, all these thoughts, feelings, and everything. And it's there on this computer. And what you're actually doing from birth is, over time, moving towards this computer that you designed and created before you came in. And that was too big of a thought. He couldn't handle it. It's like, because he thought maybe it's just the world, the universe, and you had no choice in the matter. That now you're born here, somebody comes and kicks and beats you. They just send somebody to beat the hell out of you, or, this bad experience or that, whatever. I'm like, no, you designed it all. You agreed with people, you agreed with things, some stuff from past lives and others. So I was trained by the universe, and a lot of you other people out there in the world, there's many, many other people, they've had situations and things going on, but it was part of your training. And when you start understanding inside, and you start allowing these spirits in to help you to really open up and understand it all, and really, really see, because a lot of things in my life, they will tell me, okay, because I would ask, well, why did this happen? What is this all about? And they would say, one day we will show you. And one day I'm sitting there, and they will open it up, and they'll show me everything in it. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand why I had to go through that. And that was part of my process. Is spirits would come in and say, do you want to do this? And they'd show me everything, and I'm like, let me think about it. And I'd look at it all, and I'd spend a few days thinking. They would come back, do you want to go through this? Usually 3 or 4 times, then I would agree. If I believed it was going to help the planet or help other people, I would allow them to put me through all kinds of crazy things that most people wouldn't believe that I agreed to. And I saw, and I knew it all. I knew what would go on. And that was the scary part. But I knew somehow I would survive and come out of it. So there's a lot of other things that are on the other side. And for a long time in my life, trying to learn, there was anger. And I would think, I'd sit alone and I'd say, you know, Gigi, if you were here, I would explain and I would talk to you and you would see things and tell me, because he could see into the future and tell me stuff. And I knew whatever he told me would come into my reality because the universe showed him. And they, like I say, never really lied. They always put it there. And so sometimes I would sit for days, and in my mind, I would just talk with him. I'm like, the only one you're the only one that understand me. I go to other spiritual people and other kinds of things, and they go a little crazy for whatever reasons, and I just have to close the door and move on. It's like trying to find friends and trying to find things. It was always a battle. So I think all of us designed it in such a way, and somewhere in the future, one day you'll be able to look at it and see it all. And it was you choosing, and before you were born, you agreed on this because there's a light or something you carry within inside yourself. And this is what I've tried to help Cindy understand in the whole 10 years being with her, is like, I want her to figure it out. I want her to understand and have her experiences, because it's going to be her life story she's going to share. She's going to teach from her inner experience. And that's why I brought up the door yesterday with the prison, because Cindy had an experience. I went to the washroom, and when I came back, she says, oh, I felt this. And I'm like, oh, because you start recognizing feelings, energy, other kinds of stuff. And she had a really profound experience that was very, very strong, that really impacted her. And I'm like, there she's recognizing and distinguishing these things. And I try to tell people that feel whatever it is, really look at it or go deeper. Like, what did you agree to go to school, whatever school it is, and it gave you strength, and there's something there that you're carrying to give to the world. And I don't try to interfere with that. I try to allow the person to discover and learn and figure it out, because they need that. There's something important in it all. And I have no right taking things from people. Just like my granddad didn't want to take anything from me, but he didn't want to add things to it. So he tried to be very, very careful as to where he crossed the line or what he really, really did.
So he's very careful, but sometimes it can be frustrating because we want to move faster than we're moving. And it's like, come on, Joe, just explain it to me like point form. And he doesn't do that. And that can cause like frustration sometimes. Because that's how he knows how to be the teacher too.
Yeah, so you see sparks coming off her. I'm sitting there and she's all frustrated, and I'm aware of it before it starts. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Let's see where this goes to.
And like, oh, he's saying the same thing he said last time. But the part where how you're saying, Joe, though, when you were a kid, and it was like there's like a filter or a door would like,
yeah, you have to shut off a part of your or the world or reality,
right, in order to
it doesn't
survive.
exist.
Yeah, exactly. So people didn't attack you or whatever. So you know how to switch channels in your consciousness, you could say, and how to tap in when it's necessary, and how to be the human. Like, you have that knowing on how to do that.
Well, it's like maybe when you watch Star Trek and that, and they have that one room you can create any illusion, walk in and play out all, those holograms. And to me, it was like that. When I walked into my bedroom became something else, became different. And whatever came in, there was lots would go on. Sometimes it'd be 3-4 hours. And it would be, as a child, children get bored very quickly, get frustrated, but for some reason I'd be intrigued. And it would feel like a half an hour. I'd come out, it'd be 4 or 5 hours later, and I would close that door. And that would disappear, because my granddad's like, you don't tell anybody this now. And I'm like, why? Everybody should know this. And he's like, no, people will hurt you, things will happen. So you have to be very careful. So once I stepped out of that room, I had to shut off and close all these things off, even though there was a big awareness inside me. And I go and be with a group of little kids, and we'd be playing, and I'm like, I want to share this. Like, this is freaking awesome. But then I can't do that. I have to live with all these secrets and things inside, and people are afraid of me. And it's like, what is good? What is bad? and trying to navigate through that all the time. And it became a really big thing in my life because people come to me and understand that for some reason I have an answer or something that'll help them. And some people are not ready to receive whatever. Some of them still need 2 years of stuff before they really look at it and understand why they're being taught and placed in these situations. And once they release frustration, the anger, fears, confusion, then all of a sudden it's like the light bulb turns on and then it's done. Then they can step into something different.
Okay, did you catch that? Like, because I did. Like, inside me, I'm like, oh, that's the answer. Releasing your frustrations and your fears. And it's just like, then it's that lesson is done.
Yeah.
And then you can step into the next one. So the fear of being persecuted or judged or not good enough, that kind of thing, that's what's holding you back then from being able to step into that next level of awareness.
Yeah, you keep attracting the same lesson until you recognize it's a lesson. And once your mind shifts a certain way of believing or thinking or feeling, it neutralizes. You don't attract it anymore because there's no more need. You don't generate that energy and keep like a magnet, you just keep pulling it to you until you recognize. And sometimes you can speed it up and realize and end it very fast. Some people it's long and drawn out, and there's many different factors in it all because the universe is testing you. They want to see if you're going to go into savior mode. They want to see if you're going to go into sacrificial mode. They want to see what you're going to do with your mind, or if you're just going to be neutral and look at it in black and white and go, oh, and just move past it. Because once you do that, there's something that neutralizes and you just free yourself. So the universe is always testing us in different ways. So they'll bring a situation into our lives and they'll find a bunch of ways to have that energy around us. And it's like, how do you move through it? And what is the test? What is it you're going to believe or do in your mind that's going to either prolong it or shorten it and speed it up and end it?